Alrighty, it is struggly. Works for me. Wednesday, April 13th. We'll hopefully get a chance. I think with you guys, we might get far enough, because you guys are a little bit farther in the book, far enough to actually get to some of the exciting bits. Definitely should get to the first exciting bit. Maybe if we're lucky to the second exciting bit. Your checkpoint is going to be Friday, end of chapter 4. We should get close to the end of chapter 3 today. I don't think we're going to get much of a chance to read tomorrow, but we might, because tomorrow we're going to be doing a lot of Camp Tecumseh talk. Your nonfiction homework from before break has been graded and uploaded, and then tomorrow you get the joy of iLearn again, to make sure you bring, what do you call those things, AirPods, headphones of some kind to help you out. Schaefer? No, I didn't today. I did, and then I had to change things, and I forgot to re-mess up again. So I messed up by not messing up again. You do realize, why are you out there? Because you keep talking. So if you do, I have to shut the door on you. So I was just trying to help you out. With tomorrow, the way it's going to work tomorrow is I will cover your camp group information with you and give you all of that, unless you are under 15 B points. If you are under 15 B points, you don't get your information tomorrow. Or if you have lost 10 B points, regardless of how many you have, you also don't get your information tomorrow. I have lost yours. I'm going to try and find it for Friday. Or if you have really made poor choices, I won't be able to find yours until Friday after school on your way out to the bus, and then you'll be able to get it on that time. So this is where the choices you make come back to haunt you immediately. So anyway, figured I'd give you guys a heads up on that. I will answer questions tomorrow, like how long the bus ride is, what you're supposed to pack, all of that I will cover tomorrow when I give you guys that information. Whatever time we have left, I'm happy to read with you guys, but with you, there's every chance we're going to end up using the whole class period to talk about camp, so we'll see. Grant?
Okay, so, are there any of the people who get the info after school on Friday in this class right now?
Uh-huh.
Or what about people in the hallway?
I don't know. Yes.
How uncomfortable is it to sit on that?
I prefer my other one, but this is preferable to sitting on the ground, I guess. But yeah, it's weird and it digs into my booty, so I'm not real fond of it. I could.
This is very entertaining.
And you love
Feels mildly awkward on that one. But I can adjust the height of it if that helps.
I know.
Make it
Put it
shorter.
lower.
So I thought that might make things.
Alright, allows us to go. It's almost as short as
Yeah,
me now.
it's weird. Hi, Destiny. What's up?
Oh, how many points do I have?
Good question, Grant.
I was gonna ask a question before I was rudely interrupted.
By me calling on you, I'll never call on you again. Problem solved.
Okay, so
Wow.
So I know you're answering questions on Friday, but right now I'd like another question. So I have this big fan that I kind of need to sleep.
As long as it fits in your suitcase.
Can I bring it?
We'll probably have to cover that tomorrow. But without the fit in your
What
suitcase.
did you just get a fan to sleep?
Yeah, I'm the same way. So be careful when you make fun of them, because I do the same thing.
Yeah. My dad does that.
So
It's weird.
what's up, man?
What if you're scared of the dark? No, right. And you can't sleep in the dark?
Wear a blindfold.
No. And I get even darker. I need light.
What you made to tell you.
That's what I said.
Good luck in this class. Quiet coyote. Let's see. We covered drive-in movie. See, part of it is it doesn't bother me as much when you guys talk now, because the more time that you guys waste, it just means more homework you guys have to do on your own. So that's why it doesn't hit me as much now, because now if we don't cover things, it's not a me issue, it becomes a you issue. Let's see, covered that, did there, covered those people. How far did we get, guys? Hang on.
We went past that.
I know. I think we might have, did we get all the way to chapter 3 with you guys?
Yeah. We were almost to chapter 4. Maybe.
So we got past Yeah, apparently I had not shown this to first period. In first period, when they saw this, they freaked out. Like, is that School of Broke? I'm like, it's from the 60s. Goodness
So it's not school appropriate.
Yeah, things from the 60s are definitely all kinds of risque and scary.
You did not explain that to us.
Yes, you did. The awkward flirting.
We got past that. We got past that.
Fighting weapons,
We got past
them
that.
talking to each other.
We got past that.
After they find that.
Yeah.
We got past that. We got past that.
Who was in the Blue Mustang?
A game.
The socials who did what?
Who beat up Johnny? I mean Dally or whatever. Dally.
And what do we know about the guy with rings?
He has girl rings.
Comes up later in the story.
He's the what does the guy with rings do?
He has girl
He's the one
rings.
that beat up.
Johnny.
Beat up. Yes, loudly saying the wrong answer multiple times. I know it's okay. They're just point.
It is not
Okay. All I said was he has girl rings.
Right, that was not the question.
Good job, Joe. I have a book.
And we covered that one.
We did.
All right. So we had just gotten past page 37.
We did not get to that.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
Oh, we did?
Yeah.
Because
Because we had talked about the fact of the Beatles and the fact that greasers liked
We
Elvis
did not
Presley.
get to that.
Yes, we did.
I like Elvis Presley.
No? One of us is right, and one of us loses points yelling out about rings. So we've
We
not
did not
gotten
get to
that.
that.
Okay.
It's a horse.
Your horse recognition skills are right up there with Carrington's ring recognition skills. So top of page 38 is where we left off with you guys.
Yeah.
Back up. This is-
Me.
I'm going to back up slightly so we know what he's answering. Where it says, of course greasy girls would have acted a lot tougher, but there was a basic sameness. I thought maybe it was money that separated us. No, Cherry said slowly when I said this. No, it's not just money. I mean, okay, part of it is, but not all. You greasers just, I don't know, have a different set of values. You're more emotional. Like, we're sophisticated, cool to the point of not feeling anything. Nothing is real with us, you know? Sometimes I'll catch myself talking to a girlfriend and realize I don't mean half of what I'm saying. I don't really think a beer blast on the river bottom is super cool, but I'll rave about one to a girlfriend just to be saying something. She smiled at me. I never told anyone that. I think you're the first person I've ever really gotten through to. Yeah, she was coming through to me all right. Probably because I was a greaser and younger. She didn't have to keep her guard up with me. Rat race is a perfect name for it. We're always going and going and going and never asking where. Did you ever hear of having more than you wanted so that you couldn't want anything else and then start looking for something else to want? It seems like we're always searching for something to satisfy us and never finding it. Maybe if we could lose our cool, we could. Yeah, that was the truth. Socials were always behind a wall of aloofness, careful not to let their real selves show through. I mean, I'd seen a social club rumble once. The socials even fought coldly and practically and impersonally. That's why we're separated. It's not money, it's feeling. You don't feel anything, and we feel too violently. And she was trying to hide a smile. That's probably why we take turns getting our names in the paper. Two-Bit and Marcia weren't even listening to us. They were engaged in some wild conversation that made no sense to anyone but themselves. I mean, I have quite a rep for being quiet. I mean, I'm almost as quiet as Johnny. Two-Bit always said he wondered why Johnny and I were such good buddies. You must make such interesting conversation, he'd say, cocking one eyebrow. You keeping your mouth shut and Johnny not saying anything. But Johnny and I understood each other without saying anything. Nobody could really get me talking until I met Cherry Valance. I don't know why I could talk to her. Maybe for the same reason she could talk to me. The first thing I knew, I was telling her about Mickey Mouse, Soda's horse. I'd never told anyone about Soda's horse. I mean, it was personal. Soda had this buckskin horse, only it wasn't his. It belonged to a guy who kept it at the stables where Soda used to work. Mickey Mouse was Soda's horse, though. I mean, the first day Soda saw him, he said, "Huh, there's my horse." And I never doubted it. I was about 10 then. And Soda Pop is horse crazy. I mean it. He's always hanging around stables and rodeos and hopping on a horse every time he gets a chance. When I was 10, I thought Mickey Mouse and Soda looked alike and were alike. Mickey Mouse was a dark gold buckskin, sassy, ornery, not much more than a colt. He'd come when Soda called him. He wouldn't come along for anyone else. That horse loved Soda. He'd stand there and chew on Soda's sleeve or collar. Gosh, Soda Pop was crazy about that horse. He went down to see him every day. Mickey Mouse was a mean horse. He kicked other horses and was always getting into trouble. I've got me an ornery pony, Soda'd tell him, rubbing his neck. How come you're so mean, Mickey Mouse? Mickey Mouse would just chew on his sleeve and sometimes nip him. Not hard. I mean, he may have belonged to another guy, but he was Soda's horse. Does Soda still have him? Cherry asked. Nah, he got sold. They came and got him one day and took him off. He was a real valuable horse. Pure quarter. She didn't say anything else. I was glad. I couldn't tell her that Soda had bawled all night long after they came and got Mickey Mouse. I cried too, if you want to know the truth, because Soda never really wanted anything except a horse. And, he lost his. Soda had been 12 then, like going on 13. He never let on to Mom and Dad how he felt, though, because we never had enough money. Usually we had a hard time making ends meet. When you're 13 in our neighborhood, you know the score. I kept saving my money for a year, thinking that someday I could buy Mickey Mouse back for Soda. You're not so smart at 10 or 12 or 7th grade. You read a lot, don't you, Pony Boy? Cherry asked. I was startled. Yeah. Why? She kind of shrugged. I could just tell. I bet you watch sunsets, too. She was quiet for a minute after I nodded. I used to watch them, too, before I got so busy. I pictured that, or tried to. Maybe Cherry stood still and watched the sunset while she was supposed to be taking the garbage out, stood there and watched and forgot everything else until her big brother screamed at her to hurry up. I shook my head. It seemed funny to me that the sunset she saw from her patio and the one I saw from the back steps was the same one. I mean, maybe the two different worlds we lived in weren't so different. We saw the same sunset. Marcia suddenly gasped. Cherry, look what's coming. We all looked and saw a blue Mustang coming down the street. Johnny made a small noise in his throat. When I looked at him, he was white. Marcia was shifting nervously. What are we going to do? Cherry bit a fingernail. Stand here? There ain't much we can do. Who is it? The FBI? No, it's Randy and Bob. And, Two-Bit added grimly, a few other of the socially elite checkered shirt set. Your boyfriends? Johnny's voice was steady, but standing as close to him as I was, I could see he was trembling. I wondered why. Johnny was a nervous wreck, but never was that jumpy. You guys figured out why he's that jumpy?
Yes, because
There you go.
He jumped in his like.
Cherry started walking down the street. Maybe they won't see us. Act normal. Who's acting? Two-Bit grinned. I'm a natural normal. Wish it was the other way around, I muttered. Two-Bit said, Hey, don't get mouthy, Pony Boy. The Mustang passed us slowly and went right on by. Marcia sighed in relief. Whew, that was close. Cherry turned to me. Hey, tell me about your oldest brother. You don't talk much about him. I tried to think of something to say about Derry. Shrugged. What's to talk about? He's big and handsome and likes to play football. No, I mean, what's he like? I feel like I know Soda from the way you talk about him. So tell me about Derry. But when I was silent, she urged me on. Is he wild and reckless like Soda, or dreamy like you? My face got hot as I bit my lip. Derry, what was Derry like? I started to say he's a good old guy. I just couldn't. I just burst out bitterly. He's not like Soda Pop at all. He sure ain't like me. He's hard as a rock and about as human. He's got eyes exactly like frozen ice. He thinks I'm a pain in the neck. I mean, He likes soda. Everybody likes soda. But he can't stand me. I bet he wishes he could stick me in a home somewhere. He'd do it too if soda let him. Two-Bit and Johnny were staring at me now. No. Two-Bit said dumbfounded. No, Pony Boy, that ain't right. No, you got it wrong. Gee, Johnny said softly. I thought you and Derry and Soda got along real well. Well, we don't, I snapped, feeling silly. I knew my ears were red by the way they were burning, and I was thankful for the darkness. I felt stupid. Compared to Johnny's home, mine was heaven. At least Derry didn't get drunk and beat me up or run me out of the house, and I had Soda Pop to talk things over with. That made me mad. I mean, making a fool of myself in front of everyone. And you can shut your trap, Johnny Cave, because we all know you ain't even wanted a home either. You can't even blame him. Johnny's eyes went round, and he winced as though I belted him. Two-Bit slapped me. Slapped me, a good one across the side of the head, and hard. Sorry, I wasn't hard enough the first time. Shut your mouth, kid. If you wasn't Soda's kid brother, I'd beat the tar out of you. You knew better than to talk to Johnny like that. He put his hand on Johnny's shoulder. He didn't mean it, Johnny. Oh, I'm sorry, I said miserably. Johnny was my buddy. I was just mad. No, it's the truth, Johnny said with a bleak grin. I don't care. Shut up talking like that, Two-Bit said fiercely, messing up Johnny's hair. And we couldn't get along without you, so you can just shut up. It ain't fair, I cried passionately. It ain't fair that we have all the rough breaks. I didn't know exactly what I meant, but I was thinking about Johnny's father being a drunk and his mother a selfish slob, Two-Bit's mother being a barmaid to support him, and his kid's sister after their father ran out on him, and Dally, wild, cunning Dally, turning into a hoodlum because he'd die if he didn't, and Steve, his hatred for his father coming out in his soft, bitter voice, and the violence of his temper. Soda Pop, a dropout so he could get a job and keep me in school, and Derry, getting old before his time, trying to run a family and hold on to 2 jobs, never having any fun, while the Socias had so much spare time and money, they jumped us and each other for kicks. They had beer blasts and river bottom parties because they didn't know what else to do. Things were rough all over, all right. All over the east side. It didn't seem right to me. I know, Two-Bit said with a good-natured grin. The chips are always down when it's our turn, but that's the way things are. Like it or lump it. Cherry and Marcia didn't say anything. I guess they didn't know what to say. We'd forgotten they were even there. Then the blue Mustang was coming down the street again, more slowly. Well, Cherry said resignedly, they've spotted us. The Mustang came to a halt beside us, and the 2 boys in the front seat got out. Yeah, they were Socias, all right. One had on a white shirt and a Madras ski jacket, and the other a light yellow shirt and a wine-colored sweater. I looked at their clothes and realized for the first time that evening that all I had was a pair of jeans and Soda's old navy sweatshirt with the sleeves cut short. I swallowed. Two-Bit started to tuck in his shirt tail, but stopped himself in time. He just flipped up the collar of his black leather jacket, lit a cigarette. The Socias? They didn't even seem to see us. Cherry. Wait, do you guys remember why their boyfriends left, or why they left their boyfriends?
Because they're jerks.
Not jerks. Drunk.
What?
They wanted to get.
Cherry, Marcia, listen to us. The handsome black-haired Soch with the dark sweater began. Johnny was breathing heavily, and I noticed he was staring at the Soch's hand. He was wearing 3 heavy rings. I looked quickly at Johnny, an idea dawning on me. I remembered it was a blue Mustang that pulled up beside the vacant lot, and that Johnny's face had been cut up by someone wearing rings. The Soch's voice broke into my thoughts. Just because we got a little drunk last time. Cherry looked mad. A little? You call reeling and passing out in the streets a little? Bob, I told you, I'm never going out with you while you're drinking, and I mean it. Too many things can happen while you're drunk. It's me or the booze. The other Soch, a tall guy with a semi-beetle haircut, turned to Marcia. The semi-beetle haircut is now popular again. It's when you have hair that sort of hangs down in
That's
front
not
of you.
popular.
That's like a bowl cut.
So,
It's-
yeah.
That
Well,
is not popular.
really? Because Daniel has it right there. Seth has it. He's wearing it. Avi has it. He's
No, but
wearing
that's a
it.
bowl cut. Avi has it.
And then, so
Trace.
yeah. Trace, and so this is the idea, because the thing was, most of the Socs, their hair was like Isaac kind of short, where you would wear like short. So the idea of having hair down,
My kind of
was
short?
yeah, like you're kind of short. And so the idea of having the, not like given, yes, theirs is more shaggy, but that same idea of hair hanging down. So that's what they're referring to, the beetle haircut. The other Soch, a tall guy with a semi-beetle haircut, turned to Marcia. Baby, you know we don't get drunk very often. When she only gave him a cold stare, he got angry. Hey! And even if you're mad at us, there's no reason to go walk on the street with these bums. Two-Bit took a long drag on his cigarette. Johnny slouched and hooked his thumbs in his pockets, and I stiffened. We can look meaner than anything when we want to. Looking tough comes in handy. Two-Bit put his elbow on Johnny's shoulder. Who you calling bums? Listen, greasers, we got 4 more of us in the back seat. Then pity the back seat, Two-Bit said to the sky. If you're looking for a fight, Two-Bit cocked one eyebrow, but only made him look more cool. You mean, if I'm looking for a good jumping, you outnumber us, so you'll give it to us? Well, he snatched up an empty bottle, busted off the end, and gave it to me. Then reached in his back pocket and flipped out his switchblade. Try it, pal. No!
Pal.
Cherry cried. Stop it! She looked at Bob. We'll ride home with you. Just wait a minute. Why? Two-Bit demanded. We ain't scared of them. Cherry shuddered. I can't stand fights. I can't stand them. I pulled her to one side. I couldn't use this, I said, dropping the pop bottle. I couldn't ever cut anyone. I had to tell her that because I'd seen her eyes when Two-Bit flipped out his switchblade. Yeah, I know, but we better go with him. Hey, Pony Boy? All right, I mean, if I see you in the hall at school or someplace and, like, I don't say hi, it's nothing personal or anything. But I know. We couldn't let our parents see us with you all. You're a nice boy and everything. It's okay, I said, wishing I was dead and buried somewhere, or at least that I had on a decent shirt. We aren't in the same class. Just, hey, don't forget that some of us watch the sunset too. She looked at me quickly. Oh, I could fall in love with Dallas Winston. I hope I never see him again, or I will. By the way, her comment about falling in love with Dally Winston, you might not know this, but sometimes girls like the bad boys. And Cherry's one of the ones who likes the bad boys. So the idea of her falling. Yeah. She did yell at him. You also might notice that sometimes girls are confusing and they make poor choices like come back home and stuff.
Yeah, girls make bad choices.
Well, technically it's the guys that make the bad
Like
choices.
bad choice, like having an AirPod in your ear during class to see what kind of bad things would happen to you. Like that kind of
If that was a girl,
Like Grant?
oh Mariah,
No.
you can get your AirPods back.
She got her AirPod back a while ago. She's good to go.
Like, bro.
I have my iPhone million.
No.
I have my iPhone.
Let's see. Bouncing bottles. Rip roaring drunk. Ah, there you go. There it is. Sorry. About the falling in love with Dallas Winston.
Yep.
She left me standing there with my mouth dropped open and the blue Mustang vroomed off. We walked on home, mostly in silence. I wanted to ask Johnny if those were the same Socs that had beaten him up, but I didn't mention it. Johnny never talked about it, and we never said anything. Well, those were 2 good-looking girls if I ever saw any. Two-Bit yawned as we sat down on the curb at the vacant lot. He took a piece of paper out of his pocket, tore it up. What was that? Marcia's number. Probably a phony one, too. And I must have been out of my mind to ask for it. I think I'm a little soused. Oh, so he has been drinking. Two-Bit was smart. He knew the score. Y'all going home? Not right now, I said. I wanted to have another smoke and watch the stars. I had to be in by 12, but I thought I had plenty of time. I don't know why I handed you that busted bottle, Two-Bit said, getting to his feet. You'd never use it. Hey, maybe I would have. Where are you headed? Gonna go play a little snooker, hunt up a poker game, maybe get rip-roaring drunk? I don't know. Hey, I'll see y'all tomorrow. Johnny and I stretched out on our backs and looked at the stars. I was freezing. It was a cold night. All I had was that sweatshirt, but I could watch stars in sub-zero weather. I saw Johnny's cigarette glowing in the dark and wondered vaguely what it was like inside a burning ember. It's because we were greasers, so Johnny and Ponyboy are hanging out in the empty lot. I couldn't find a good picture of just two kids, so use your imagination. Because they're like laying back and watching the stars, so I was trying to use my imagination. It's because we're greasers, Johnny said, and I knew he was talking about Cherry. We could have hurt her reputation. Yeah, I reckon, I said, wondering if I ought to tell Johnny what she had said about Dallas. Man, that was a tough call. I mean, Mustangs are tough. Yeah, big time socials, all right. I said, a nervous bitterness growing inside me. And it wasn't fair for the socials to have everything. We were as good as they were. It wasn't our fault we were greasers. I couldn't just take it or leave it like Two-Bit, or ignore it and love life anyway like Soda Pop, or harden myself beyond caring like Dally, or actually enjoy it like Tim Shepard. I felt the tension growing inside of me, and I knew something had to happen or I would explode. I can't take much more, Johnny spoke my own feelings. I'll kill myself or something. Hey, don't, I said, sitting up in the lawn. You can't kill yourself, Johnny. Well, I mean, I won't, but I gotta do something. It seems like there's... She's really excited about math. Seems like there's gotta be some place without greasers or socialists, with just people, plain, ordinary people. Now in the big towns, I said, lying back down. In the country, man, I love the country. I wanted to be out of towns and away from excitement. I only wanted to lie on my back under a tree, read a book, or draw a picture, not worry about being jumped or carrying a blade or ending up married to some scatterbrained broad with no sense. The country'd be like that, I thought dreamily. I'd have a yellow cur dog like I used to. Soda Pop could get Mickey Mouse back and ride in all the rodeos he wanted to. And Derry would lose that cold, hard look and be like he used to be 8 months ago before Mom and Dad were killed. Since I was dreaming, I brought Mom and Dad back to life. Mom could bake some more chocolate cake. Dad would drive the pickup out early to feed the cattle. He'd slap Derry on the back and tell him he was getting to be a man, a regular chip off the block. And they'd be as close as they used to be. Maybe Johnny could come live with us, and the gang would come out on weekends, and maybe Dallas would see there was some good in the world after all, and Mom would talk to him and make him grin in spite of himself. You've got quite a mom, Dally used to say. Man, she knows the score. She could talk to Dallas and keep him from getting into a lot of trouble. My mother was golden and beautiful. Pony boy! Johnny was shaking me. Hey, Pony, wake up! I sat up, shivering. The stars had moved. Lord, what time is it? I don't know, man. I went to sleep too. I was listening to you rattle on and on. You better get home. I think I'll stay all night out here. Johnny's parents didn't care if he came home or not. Okay, I yawned. Gosh, it was cold. If you get cold or something, come on over to our house. Okay. I ran home, trembling at the thought of facing Derry. The porch light was on. Maybe they were asleep and I could sneak in. I peeked in the window. Soda Pop was stretched out on the sofa, sound asleep, but Derry was in the armchair under the lamp, reading the newspaper. I gulped and opened the door softly. Derry looked up from his paper. He was on his feet in a second. I stood there, chewing on my fingernail. Where the heck have you been? Do you know what time it is? He was madder than I'd seen him in a long time. I shook my head wordlessly. It's 2 in the morning, kiddo. Another hour, and I would have had the police out after you. Where were you, pony boy? His voice was rising. Where in the almighty universe were you? It sounded dumb, even to me, when I stammered. I went to sleep in the lot. You what? He was shouting. Soda Pop sat up and rubbed his eyes. Hey, pony boy, where you been? I didn't mean to, I pleaded with Derry. I was talking to Johnny and we dropped off. I reckon it never occurred to you that your brothers might be worrying their heads off and afraid to call the police because something like that could get you two boys thrown in a boys' home so quick it'd make your head spin. And you were asleep in the lot? Pony boy, what on earth is the matter with you? Can't you use your head? You haven't even got a coat on. I felt hot tears of anger and frustration rising. I said I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to, Derry shouted, and I almost shook. I didn't think. I forgot. That's all I hear out of you. Can't you think of anything? Hey, Derry, Soda Pop began, but Derry turned on him. You keep your trap shut. I'm sick and tired of hearing you stick up for him. I should never yell at Soda. Nobody should ever holler at my brother. I exploded. You don't yell at him, I shouted. Derry wheeled around and slapped me so hard it knocked me against the door. Suddenly, it was deathly quiet. We'd all frozen. Nobody in my family had ever hit me. Nobody. Soda was wide-eyed. Derry looked at the palm of his hand where it had turned red and then looked back at me. His eyes were huge. Pony boy? I turned and ran out the door, down the street as fast as I could. Derry screamed, Pony! I didn't mean to! But I was at the lot by then, and I pretended I couldn't hear. I was running away. It was plain to me that Derry didn't want me around, and I wouldn't stay if he did. I wasn't ever going to let me hit again. Johnny, I called, and started when he rolled over and jumped up almost under my feet. Come on, Johnny, we're running away. Johnny asked no questions. We ran for several blocks until we were out of breath, then we walked. I was crying by then. I finally just sat down on the curb and cried, burying my face in my arms. Johnny sat down beside me, one hand on my shoulder. Easy, pony boy. Are you okay? And finally, I calmed down and I wiped my eyes on my bare arm, and my breath was coming in quivering sobs. You got a cigarette? He handed me one and struck a match. Johnny, I'm scared. Well, don't be. You're scaring me. What happened? I ain't never seen you bawl like that. I don't very often. It was Derry. He hit me. I don't even know what happened, but I couldn't take him hollering at me and hitting me too. I don't know. I mean, sometimes we get along okay, and then all of a sudden he blows up on me or else is nagging at me all the time. He didn't used to be like that. We used to get along okay before Mom and Dad died. Now, I don't know, he just can't stand me. I think I like it better when the old man's hitting me, Johnny sighed. At least then, I know he knows who I am. I walk in the house, nobody says anything. I walk out, nobody says anything. I stay away all night, nobody even notices. At least you got Soda. Man, I ain't got nobody. Shoot, I said, startled out of my own misery. You got the whole gang. Dally didn't slug you tonight because you're the pet. I mean, golly, Johnny. I mean, you got the whole gang. Yeah, it ain't the same as having your own folks care about you, Johnny said simply. It ain't the same. I was beginning to relax and wonder if running away was such a great idea. I was sleepy and freezing to death and wanted to be home in bed, safe and warm under the covers, with Soda's arm across me. I decided I'd go home and just not speak to Derry. It was my house as much as Derry's, and if he wanted to pretend I wasn't alive, well, that was just fine with me. He couldn't stop me from living in my own house. Let's walk to the park and back, and then maybe I'll be cooled off enough to go home. Okay, Johnny said easily. Okay. Things gotta get better, I figured. They couldn't get worse. Whew. Man, I was wrong. Because what's that going to be an example of?
Sports Center.
Nicely done. Because things most definitely are going to get worse.
I'm about to say Future Center.
By the way, with the Derry slapping him part, realize with Derry, how old is Derry?
14.
He's 20 and he's having to take care of this family with the idea that if the kids, the Pony Boy or Soda Pop, get in any trouble at all, then they get taken by the police and put into like an orphanage or to a boys' home. Because that's the whole, because he's only 20, the police are like, you can stay their parent only as long as no one gets in trouble. But when Pony Boy doesn't come home, that freaks out Derry because what just happened to Pony Boy the day before?
He got slapped. He's like.
No, the day before he got. No, Pony Boy didn't get jumped.
That was when coming home from the movie theater and they jumped out of the car, the red Corvair.
Dallas got jumped.
No, that was Pony Boy. Johnny got jumped months ago from the Blue Mustang. Remember them coming home from the, I wish I looked like, what's his name, the Paul Newman, and then the guys jumped out and said, do you want a haircut, Grease? And everyone kept running out. So that was the day before. So as far as Derry knows, he just got beat up. But if he calls the police, then his brother gets taken away from him if nothing bad happens. If he doesn't call the police, his brother might be like beat up and laying in the street. So Derry's trying to decide, do I save my brother? Do I not save my brother? And he's freaking out. And then in walks this teenager and he's like, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. I was asleep in an empty lot. Everything's okay. And he was like, what's your issue? And he's like, back off, man. I'm a teenage. And then Derry's like, teenage. And then, sometimes dealing with teenagers is a little exhausting.
So who's Dallas?
Dallas is the best.